Welcome to the Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Pat Regan. This is my lovely co-host, Jeremy Cook, and we have with us today Zachary Hips from the Bite-Sized YouTube channel. And I'm pretty excited because I'm going to be asking him about that do-it-yourself one wheel that he's built, but I don't know if we're going to be doing that right away. We're probably going to ask Zach how he's doing. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm doing well, Pat. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, like your background and what you do for real?
So I run a YouTube channel called Bite Size, but before I was doing that, I was an electrical engineer. I still am an electrical engineer, but I am doing more and more of the YouTube stuff these days. But yeah, my background is in engineering. I worked for a lot of different engineering companies, and mostly in Department of Defense, contracting, that kind of stuff. A lot of military communications equipment professionally, but on the side I've always been tinkering around with various projects. Always have something going on and something that's exciting for me to work on. And so I decided probably in 2016, 2017 that I wanted to start documenting those projects. And actually it was a good way to hold me accountable for finishing the projects. I was like, I always start projects, but I never finish them. So I thought to myself that starting a YouTube channel would be a good way to hold myself accountable for finishing those things. So, and then also document it along the way and hopefully inspire people to make things as they watch my channel. So yeah, I've been doing YouTube for 3 or 4 years now and really enjoy it.
Nice. So are you a full-time creator now, or do you still have a normal job?
So I'm currently, kind of full-time creator. I do a bit of freelance engineering work just here and there as it comes up. But yeah,
nice.
mostly content creation.
Okay.
Very cool.
And it seems like you do a wide range of projects. I mean, from woodworking to electronics to the one wheel, which we'll get into later. And I guess you've been pretty successful about it. So I mean, how do you think you've been able to do that without getting into too much of a single niche? Again, it just seems like a lot of people do kind of get into one area, but it seems like you've kind of, I guess, branched out.
Zach, every time a guest is on this podcast, they make fun of Jeremy for having such a wide array of things, and because they laser focus on one topic, like one niche of a topic.
Right. Sometimes literally laser focused.
Yeah, my interests just vary so much. I just love learning new things and new, tools or methods or materials to work with, and I'm always just excited about, how many different things there are out there that I don't know. So I love learning new things, and so yeah, I kind of do a little bit of everything. I haven't done as much woodworking recently. I enjoy woodworking, but as far as content creation goes, those videos didn't do as well as my more technology, electronics and stuff, those type of videos did. So I kind of started to shy away from doing those just because they didn't perform as well, and which is kind of a bummer, but.
Right. I guess I asked that a little bit selfishly because I've been getting into more printed circuit board design and maybe more technology focused in a lot of my stuff. But I've been building a bunk bed for my kids. And it's a really cool project, but at the same time, it's like, oh, do I shift into that right now and do a video on it? Although I think it'd be a good video in its own right, but as far as how it perform, I don't know. I guess I wondered if you had any.
Yeah, it's not always about performance too. You got to do what you enjoy doing and post it. And if there's an audience out there that will enjoy it. So there's a balance there of finding things that you enjoy.
Yeah, no, I think that's true because I feel like I do it crazy if I just did the same thing all the time. I think I'm a little like you. I'm a mechanical engineer by background, but honestly, it's, we had a guest on Proto G, and he had an electromechanical engineering degree, which wasn't even offered at my school when I went to engineering school, but it's like, wow, that sounds like exactly what I wanted to do. Something like, just learning about everything. Although I feel like mechanical engineering is in some ways kind of like that because you can branch out to so many different areas, but
yeah, I actually started out in school studying mechanical engineering. I thought that that's what I wanted to do, and I got a good way through it, and then I would go home, and that's about the time that Arduino was starting to become popular, and so I'd come home and I'd be like playing with Arduino boards, and then I'd go to school and be learning thermodynamics, and I thought to myself, I think I'm in the wrong thing. I really enjoy this electronics stuff a lot more.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I actually, believe it or not, I actually passed thermodynamics twice because I started out in chemical engineering, and I took the chemie version of that, and then I think I got a C in it. I'm like, well, I should probably take the mechanical engineering version since whatever, I'm transferring. Maybe it's a little different. And I remember, I think I got like a 97 or 100 on the first test in mechanical engineering. And then I think I got like a 60 something on the second because I thought I just had it, understood all of it. But
yeah,
anyway.
Engineering school, that's a whole other topic that,
we could
I talk a lot about.
Yeah.
I struggled so hard in school, but yeah, it was tough.
It's an interesting thing because I feel like, maybe you're the same as me. I think some people go into engineering because they're very good at math, and somebody says, oh, you should go into engineering because you can do it. But I was okay at math, but it was more like I wanted to make stuff, and that was the route I had to go through to get that education. And I think there's kind of there's many ways to approach it, I guess. Some people to get an engineering degree because they want to go to med school later, it just...
Yeah, I feel like you have to have a real passion for making things and problem solving to kind of go through engineering school.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oh, I wanted to ask you too, just getting back to the video thing. You did at least one short video, or maybe you did more than one short. What do you think of that? That's a new thing from YouTube, right?
Man, I struggle to keep up with all the trends and the new different, ways of uploading video and stuff. I created my first short actually about the one wheel, and because I always kind of create shorter promotional, like less than 1 minute promotional video, just a kind of a cut down version of my longer form videos. And I'll usually upload those to like Instagram or I actually only upload to Instagram and YouTube. But so I figured, hey, I've already got this short form video, so I uploaded a short, and it got almost as many views as my full length video. So I was like, hey, maybe this is something I need to be doing. So it wasn't that much extra work for me since I already had, that content to be uploaded. So it's something I'm figuring out. But yeah, they're kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I posted one. It did quite well by my standards, but then I don't know. But then like if you search for Jeremy Cook, like all of a sudden I wasn't coming up first in the search results anymore. Like some other guy. And I'm like, wait, did that have something? Like now YouTube thinks like I'm only all about shorts, and they got to prioritize him.
When you asked me about shorts, I almost went into dad joke mode and said, no, I prefer pants.
Full length long pants.
Well, yeah, I saw the video of your one wheel. It's just your legs on top of the, on one clip. It's just you balancing there. So
I don't know. It's something I'm definitely will be experimenting with and figuring out if it's something that is beneficial.
Right.
And it seems to be changing a lot what YouTube is doing with the shorts and how they're promoting them and where they're, whatever the magic algorithm is doing with them.
Yeah, and they used to prefer longer form videos, like you need to make a 15 or 20 minute video, and now everybody's consuming these short little bits and pieces, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's like you just, I feel like you do what you got to do, and I don't know.
Yeah, I try not to stress too much about chasing trends and stuff because I want this to be sustainable for me. I want to enjoy it and do it for a long time. And if I'm constantly trying to chase a trend or do something that I'm not happy with, then it's not gonna last forever. So I tend to not worry too much about it. I just kind of make my content that I enjoy and hope other people do too.
Yeah. Well, certainly a lot of people do. So it seems like you've got a pretty decent subscriber base. That's awesome. So
yeah, it's taken a long time to grow it, but it's fun. It's getting there. So
I've been going through Zach's catalog, and there's a lot of cool stuff. And I didn't even know it was yours at the time, Zach. I remember your Arduino Giga showing up all over social media a while back. That was really cool, and I was pretty excited about your giant Raspberry Pi hand crank display. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, for Pi Day, it displayed the digits of Pi. Yeah.
How many digits of Pi did it display?
All of them.
My limitation was all infinity of them. Yeah. My limitation was how many circuit boards of 7-segment displays I was willing to solder up. So my limit was, I think I got 400 digits Yeah, so it was a lot. Oh man, that was a lot of circuit board soldering, and but yeah, I kind of daisy chained them together and made a little hand crank that kind of displays that, you crank it and the digits kind of start going out further and further and further.
The hand
that's
crank
neat.
was genius. Absolutely genius.
I thought about, how can I make this like visually interesting? Like, oh, you have to interact with this thing, because I mean, yeah, I could just sit there and display the digits, but I wanted it to be kind of interactive.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I'm a big fan of rotary inputs, as Pat knows.
It's true.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, I guess I could almost picture like at a maker fair or something, like just having people like solder one more digit on the Pi, and then like by the end you've got whatever. Actually, that'd be pretty cool.
Would be cool. That would be really cool.
There you go. So you can expand that. Do you ever make any live appearances or anything? I mean, that. You ever
Live appearances?
I don't know. You ever go to maker fairs or anything like that?
I am kicking myself because I lived on the East Coast. I was near New York Maker Fair for so many years, and I'm like, oh, you know what? This year I'm gonna go. And then I never went, and then I finally went in 2017 or 2018? One of their last ones.
Okay.
And enjoyed it. I got to meet a lot of people, and just it was really cool to kind of feel, hey, this is my community. It's oftentimes as creators, you don't get to meet up with very many people, and it's like, here's a bunch of people that are like-minded and share the same passions that I do. So I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm like, oh, I'm definitely coming back. And then they got canceled, so I wasn't able to go back.
Yeah, well, I was actually at that one. I had a press pass, which I don't know, seemed kind of interesting, I guess.
But did you have the hat with the little, the press card up in the hat and the little notepad? And
no, I didn't have the hat. It didn't really. I don't think it really got me anything. I remember. I don't know if it was that one, but there wasn't like. It was like one. It had like the extra special maker area, and I don't think I had access to that, even though I had maybe a, like for actual famous people, I guess.
You have to have at least 1 million subscribers to go past that line.
Yeah, I did see. Well, it is funny. Like you see, like you're like, oh, I know that guy from that video, and like I know that guy, and you see like people that from whatever, from different stuff. So it was, kind of neat, I guess.
I'm going to an event like that, and I wasn't, expecting to run into so many people that I recognized, and I had a really hard time not being a fanboy and like, freaking out, but it was fun to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I've also been to Workbench Con in Atlanta for the last couple of years, which is more, I mean, it's not really it's more geared towards content creators and so they offer classes and that kind of stuff. So it's not really it's not a general community event.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've never been to it. I guess mostly stick to the maker fairs or nothing these days.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
What about your gear for creating videos? What sort of cameras and lighting and stuff do you use? How invested in that are you?
I tend to be pretty basic because you can sink a lot of money into that.
Yeah.
I just kind of have a DSLR, a Canon, like the Rebel T7i.
Okay.
DSLR. It's pretty entry level. And then I have just a kind of a more affordable lav mic. I can connect to that. And then lighting, I installed just LED lighting on my ceiling. I don't usually use any lighting panels or soft boxes or anything like that. It's just they usually get in the way. So I just used just LED lighting up on the ceiling, and yeah, I just go with it.
This has been on my mind because doing this kind of video, I've been trying to make myself look more presentable every time. So I keep making little changes around. So I keep thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, you at the beginning before we started recording, you showed me you had it was like a white poster board you were using as like a bounce card.
Yep, and I'm using Jeremy's keypad here to control my. It's not plugged in. I'm hitting it like it's going to work, but I unplugged it to show you guys earlier. It doesn't work not plugged in.
Yeah, well, mine's plugged in, so.
I can notice a definite glow on your face, Pat. There's a definite radiating glow. You looking very nice. Very well
thank
lit.
you. But yeah, so macro pads only work when they're hooked up, I guess. But
It's
So
true.
what do you guys use those for? Is that mainly for the podcast here? What do you program into the macro pads?
So yeah, this is something I've been working on called the JC Pro Macro, and that's upside down. And basically, it's like in this, I've got the volume of my output, and then I've just got like play, pause, and fast forward for like media and stuff. So I'm not actually using it for the podcast per se. It's something I've just been kind of developing. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it though. So.
And that's programmable. I'm guessing you can assign.
Yeah, exactly. It's just got a Pro Micro board on there, like in the middle.
An Arduino.
So you can program to anything you want. In fact, I've got a one of the modes I've been using is the Final Cut Pro mode, and that kind of like lets you scroll around frame by frame with the knob and stuff. So it's something I've been experimenting with, and it's pretty happy with it so far.
Very cool.
So,
I got all excited about macro pads when we started podcasting, when I was using OBS and when we were doing all kinds of figuring out how to. But then we started using this Riverside.fm to do all the scary stuff for us, and I can't use this.
Oh, it doesn't. It's not.
There's not really much to do with it. And it used to be terrifying when we used to record the podcast kind of manually, like with a Google Hangout and screen recording and stuff. I was always worried that, I was going to forget to hit record, or it was going to fail, or, I was going to move a window over the top of something and then we wouldn't see things because the screen grab would grab the wrong thing. This has been fantastic for making me less anxious.
Takes a lot of the stress out of it.
It's been good. I mean, I guess what happened to begin with is I was supposed to be the primary like OBS studio guy and record it, and then Pat would be the backup. But then we had to use the backup, and then from there Pat somehow became the primary recorder guy, and then it just got. Well, we never actually lost the podcast, so that's a good thing.
No.
There you go.
But the quality's gone way up with Riverside. I've been excited about that.
Going back to your macro pad, you guys do any 3D modeling with Fusion 360 or SketchUp or anything like that? Have you been able to use hotkeys on your macro pad for those kind of programs?
I could. I haven't. I haven't really programmed it in yet, but yeah, certainly. You certainly could do that, but no, I haven't really worked on it yet. So
yeah, I've used. I bought like a Logitech gaming mouse, which I don't do hardly any gaming, but it has like all these buttons on the side. It's got like 12 buttons, next to my thumb.
Oh,
and
that's
then
awesome.
also like my ring finger is a shift key, so you basically have like 24 programmable buttons that can do whatever you want. So I've started, because I do a lot of CAD work and and then circuit board design and that kind of stuff. So all these CAD programs, you have so many tools that you always need to be grabbing, and I found it really handy to have like a gaming mouse, but I don't use it for gaming. I use it for all these hotkeys in these programs.
Yeah, extra buttons that you don't have to reach for are fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because if you have to take your hand off that mouse to come all the way over to your keyboard, I mean, I know how much time that takes.
Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that.
It's true.
Hey, you ever use a Space Commander, Zach?
A Space Commander? That sounds like an arcade game.
Maybe it is.
Is that the Space Mouse? The Space Mouse?
Space Mouse? Maybe it's not called Space Commander, but it's like a
a
little rotary. Oh yeah, you got one. So yeah.
I've used one of these barely.
So you
Yes,
have.
I use this every time I have Fusion open. I have this. My left hand is on this, so I rarely have to. I mean, just typing in dimensions is the only thing I need to remove my hand for is on the number pad. But yeah.
So I mean, just to describe it, it's basically like a knob that you hold in your left hand, and then you can press down on it, pull up on it, go left, right, et cetera, and basically allows you to do any sort of 3D manipulation just with your left hand, pretty much. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, it has 6 degrees of freedom, so like 3 rotational and 3 translational, and that can be overwhelming, to a new user. In fact, I bought, and they're not cheap. I think I paid $130 for this version, and it's wireless, which is nice. It just kind of sits there.
Nice.
But I know that when I first started using it, and I was in Fusion, I mean, my model was flying away off into infinity, and I couldn't get it back, and so I actually stopped using it for several months, and then I came back to it, and I noticed, maybe they had done a firmware update or something, but I noticed that you could limit the number of degrees of freedom in the software. So I limited, I think, it to just rotation. It doesn't do zoom. And so I practiced with that and got really good with that. And I just spent a lot more time using it. And then I kind of broke the ice there and got through that learning curve. And then it worked a lot better for me after that. And then I turned back on the full degrees of freedom. And I'm pretty proficient with it. I mean, I use it every time. So it
Nice.
seems to be a better workflow for me.
Zach, I accidentally, when I was looking for a knob to print for this, I found a nice parametric knob on Thingiverse. I saw a macro pad on Thingiverse for your little puck guy that puts keys. I didn't know I was going to need to remember this, but it puts keys around the one side of the thing so you can touch them with I don't know where.
Interesting. They have a different model. This is the most basic one. It's just the puck that you kind of grab. They have one that it is a macro pad that has a number pad on it and a whole bunch of other keys that you can assign. But it's quite a bit more expensive, and I didn't feel like I'd use it.
You will someday, Zach. You'll be addicted to it, and you'll want more buttons.
Yeah. Maybe the one with the buttons is the one they call the Space Commander. Maybe I don't know. I'll tell you what though, Zach. One thing I bet you designed with using that is probably your, what do you even call it? Your one wheel, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Is that,
Yeah, my one wheel. I try not to say one wheel so that I don't get sued.
Yeah.
I know all of my documentation, all of the YouTube videos, I did use the word one wheel, even though it's a copyrighted word, I'm sure.
So it's a single wheel propulsion device. You used it in that.
Yeah, a self-balancing skateboard.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, we wanted to talk about that quite a bit. So why don't we take our coffee break, and then after that we'll come back and we'll ask you lots of questions about that, and maybe a few other questions. We'll just see.
Sounds good.
Hey guys, welcome to the coffee break. This is Jeremy Cook and Pat Regan, as always. And as always on our coffee break, we're gonna read off our top 5 Patreons. First, we got Michael Sizer, Raptor, creatively spelled, Christina Kearney, Stuart Morrow, and Positive Waves. So thank you so much for supporting us. It does cost some money to run this, and obviously it costs our time. So that's good. It's awesome to know that people are interested enough to put their money into it. So that's really cool.
Is.
And of course we appreciate
Jeremy,
the extra money.
where do we go to become a patron?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Pat. It's actually patreon.com/thecreativitypodcast. So you can go there and you can pledge $1 for the plastic level, $5 for the aluminum level. I think $10 is the Shack Steel level, and then some other.
Are these the actual names?
They are the names. I think the $1,000 level is the bad investment level. I don't know. But we've got higher levels if you guys want to sponsor us.
But don't feel obligated.
Don't feel obligated. We're
we
mostly
don't want to be
just
pushy salesmen.
I guess there's other ways you could support us, right, Pat?
Absolutely. I would be very excited if you hit the like button on this video, or if it's not a video, it might be a podcast on. Can you upvote things? Can you like things on iTunes? I know you can on SoundCloud.
You can review us. You can review us on iTunes.
Oh my goodness! If you reviewed us, I would be your best friend forever.
Yeah, that's right.
Best BFFs.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us today, and we'll get back to Bite Size and talk about one wheel unicycles or whatever it's called.
We're not allowed to say one wheel, Jeremy. I'll bleep that out.
Single wheel vehicles.
Mono wheels. Not later. Right now. Well, welcome back from our coffee break, Jeremy. How was your coffee?
Yeah, welcome back, Pat. I am actually drinking coffee today. It's cold coffee from Costco. Yeah, I put a little bit of chocolate milk in it, so it's pretty tasty, I think. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, Zach, do you have any coffee today? Or I see you had a water bottle, so that's.
Yeah, I've just got my water bottle today.
Keeping it clean today, I guess. So that's good.
I finished my coffee before the coffee break.
I don't drink coffee, but I love the smell of coffee, man. My favorite thing is walking through an airport and just being inundated with that smell.
Well, that's awesome. Well, it's too bad you can't just walk into airports these days. You got to go through security. Otherwise,
Yeah. That's been for a long time, though, Jeremy. A long
Yeah,
time.
it's been a while. I mean, I don't know how old Zach is, but that might even be before his time. You know, we had Kenny from Cloud Free called in, and he's like, yeah, you know, I was watching Seinfeld. I'm like thinking, wow, Seinfeld came out before you were born, or ended before you were born. So
It ended.
but yeah, so one thing you could ride through the airport, presumably, I mean, before they stopped you, is a single wheel transportation device, such as the one you built, right, Zach?
That's right. Yeah.
So why don't you tell
so
us about that?
I got interested in the one wheel. They're like the self-balancing skateboard, you know, has a big fat like go-kart tire kind of in the middle. You stand on it like a skateboard, you know, you've got one foot in front of the other. And it's a self-balancing device, so you kind of once you get stood up on it, you can lean forward, and you know it propels you forward, and then you can slow down. So it's much like the Segway, you know, it's the same principle of this you know, kind of inverted pendulum where you're balancing on this, but as you lean forward, that's what propels you forward. So there's no you know, handheld remote control or anything like that. It's just based on your balance. But yeah, they have these devices, and they're really cool. I've started to see a lot more people ride them around, and I thought that would be really fun to have.
Do you know that when I ride a similar device, but when people stop me and say, "What is that? What do you do?" Half the people you talk to understand if you tell them it's half a Segway, and the other half understand if you tell them it's half of a hoverboard.
There you go.
It depends on how old they are.
That's true, because Segways at this point, Segways came out like 20 years ago. That's,
forever.
Yeah.
The kids know hoverboards, and the adults
Nobody
know.
rides that was supposed to be the transportation of the future, and I don't think it happened. I don't know.
Yeah, because Pat has an electric unicycle, and Zach, you've built a whatever skateboard-like device.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference is, I guess Pat's yours, you stand in the middle, basically straddle the one wheel.
Yep.
You know,
I'm skiing,
and you're looking forward.
and Zach is snowboarding on pavement.
That's a good analogy. So does your unicycle have a seat, or is it you're standing up?
It stands up. Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
That'd be pretty funny if it had a seat, though. I mean, I don't know.
And it's really hard to learn how to ride.
It is hard?
It's very hard. Some people take to it pretty quick, but it took me hours to be confident enough to just go in a straight line down the street. There's
only one wheel, right? There's no way to steer.
Yep, and it's not that fat tire like you have on yours. It's it's 2 1/4 inches.
So how big is the tire?
It's a 16-inch tall tire on mine, and it's 2 1/4 inches wide.
Wow, that's not much. It seemed like it would be really difficult to balance.
But the weird thing is, it's the one wheel and your board. You can ride slow. I can't really. It's very tiring for me to ride slow. Once you hit about 6-7 miles an hour, it's like butter. It just goes.
Well, it's almost
and
like a bike. A bike is really difficult to ride slow, but once you kind of get that, you know, that momentum going up, you kind of helps you balance a little bit more.
Yep. But those giant tires, like mine's a 16-inch, but they've got one up. The biggest one is 24 inches. And that's just gigantic.
That's like a mountain bike size, isn't it?
It really is. I can't even imagine what it must be like riding one like that. I've ridden a 20-inch, and
I'm
that
not sure
felt like a 10.
I'm even tall enough. I might have that wheel up in the area I'm not.
I know, right?
That's a big tire.
But it's so smooth. You hit little bumps and things, and you hardly feel them with those big 16-inch
And is it a
wheels.
new mat? Is there like a tube in there?
Yeah, there is a tube. I think almost every. I think there's only
not like
one electric unicycle that comes without a tube is tubeless.
It's not like a hard rubber.
No,
you know,
no, it's like
fully,
a.
You know.
I think they're some kind of dirt bike tires or something.
Okay.
I don't know what, and they ship weird. Like mine's literally a 16-inch diameter tire. They say it's 16 inches, but that's not the size of the rim. You know, I'm used to, if you say it's a 16-inch wheel, I think that's the
rim.
Yeah, it's very, I don't know what kind of vehicle these tires actually come from.
Yeah.
They come from a one-wheel unicycle, Pat.
They must.
Or wait, I guess there's only a one-wheel unicycle, isn't there? There's no such thing as a two-wheel
By definition,
unicycle.
right?
Some of the guys on YouTube that do nothing but make videos about these things call them half e-bikes. sometimes, or quarter cars.
Are the unicycles, are they pretty expensive? Like in comparison to the one wheels?
They're so much better of a value, I think, than the actual official trademarked one wheels. The first one I bought was a little 14-inch that was refurbished. It was only $400. It has about 15 miles of range, and it'll do about 16 or 17 miles an hour.
Wow.
And the one I've upgraded to has about I've gone about 35 miles on a charge. It'll do 28 miles an hour. I've done 25, and I shouldn't go that fast. I don't have enough safety gear.
25 on a unicycle?
Yeah.
That's
and the scariest part about it is it's not scary to go 25.
Really?
It's just like it was the first few, in the first 100 miles it was scary. But now, if I have a warning beeper on there to tell me when I'm going over 20, because I don't feel like it would be comfortable crashing at 25.
Yeah. Does it have a pushback feature where it will tilt you back up?
It will tilt you back when you start to go too fast. It'll beep, and then it'll beep more, and then it'll tilt you back. There's 2 or 3 levels of, but I'm also using, it has a Bluetooth speaker built in. And there's an app on my phone, and I can set another alarm sooner than the programmed alarms. And she tells me to slow down. Like, she literally says slow down. And I'm always embarrassed because I'll be passing someone, and she'll tell me to slow down. And I have to tell her, listen, you're embarrassing me. You got to shh. I'm not trying to go this fast. I just want to get ahead of the guy that I'm passing. I don't want to.
Yeah.
So it's got a Bluetooth speaker on it, so it plays songs from your phone on it?
It can. I don't do that, but it'll also have, the app has speed adjusted, pitch adjusted motor noise. It's like there's a motorcycle noise is the default.
Oh,
but
that's
I
ridiculous.
I downloaded the Jetsons car.
There you go. I was going to say something like that.
And I play it real quiet because people don't hear me coming. It's a lot like a baseball card in the spokes. But I scare people all the time because you don't make any noise. And I just, I tell them I'm on their left or something when they're walking on the bike trail. And they jump. It's like, I don't mean to scare you. It's just everything's too quiet. So when I play that little bit of noise, people don't get scared anymore.
There you go.
Pat told me that, I guess he was riding down the street or something, and this lady's on the phone, and she says, "Oh, it's that guy again." Like, apparently Pat's like a celebrity in Plano, or probably Texas in general, where he lives.
The whole thing.
So,
how many people are riding electric unicycles around, right?
Just man.
I know,
Tim and you. That's all there are.
I've run into 3 of us, and we have there's a little e-skateboard group here in town, and there's another 3 or 4 unicycles in the skateboard group. I thought
Do you guys
that
go harass people and
a biker gang?
It's like a biker gang.
Do you guys be like, oh, you go to different restaurants, like, oh, you should pay us some protection just if something were to happen, we could maybe take care of it for you.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
It's
too
like
hot
the
here to wear
Godfather
the
2020.
leather jackets and stuff, and the chaps and everything. I can't say what kind of chaps I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah. So that's yeah. But Zach, though, we'd like to hear about your skateboard. You built this yourself, and I believe it was just under $700, not including all the tools that you used. Is that
right? Yeah,
right?
I tried so that was kind of the impetus. Was I was like, I would love to ride one of those, but I don't have $2,000 plus to buy one, and I'm pretty sure I could make one for cheaper than that. So I kind of started. I went down a deep rabbit hole one night and stayed up way too late on my phone in bed, kind of researching this and watching a bunch of other people who've done it and learning what kind of things I needed. And the more I learned about it, it's like, oh, this would probably be easier than I thought, because it's been done before. I'm not the first person to do it by any means. So it's a fairly well documented process. There was still quite a bit of research and troubleshooting and problem solving, but yeah, I started ordering some parts. I found it's a 10-inch, brushless hub motor. It's kind of like, I think they use go-kart, kind of a go-kart tire. So it's like 6.5 inches wide or something. It's a real big fat tire, and it's got the hub motor.
You can stand on these while you're not moving. They're so wide, right? You can just kind of.
I mean,
If you're
because you've got 2 feet to balance, and you can balance fairly easily on them. I mean, it takes practice. It's not like anybody would just jump up there and be able to do it immediately. I think there's some practice involved. But yeah, I would imagine it's a lot easier than a unicycle because you've got 2 feet and a lot more stability.
Sure.
But, yeah, so I kind of started the hub motor. I ordered that from AliExpress, and is actually, I think the shipping was just as much as the as the hub motor. It was really expensive to get over here, and it took a few weeks.
And is a sub motor, is this the same sort of motor that's used on a hoverboard, or is it different than that?
I think it's bigger. I mean, it's a hub motor. Well, I guess it could. I guess it is. I guess the hoverboards do use a hub motor because the motor is encased inside the hub. But this one has the axle traveling all the way through, whereas like a hoverboard would just have an axle on one side.
Right.
It doesn't stick
Okay.
out the other side. So you'd have just a single axle as opposed to a through axle. So yeah,
Okay.
the axle kind of sticks out both sides of the wheel. And so I kind of jumped onto Fusion 360 and started designing a frame, and I just got some aluminum rectangular tubing, and I do a lot of design work in Fusion just to try to work out bugs before they happen. I'm not the type of person that will just kind of build it without a plan. I like to have a almost fully finished model before really starting on things. So I have like a full featured model in Fusion of this one wheel, and kind of went from there. And I used the aluminum tubing as kind of the 2 main frame rails, and then I designed some enclosures on the ends to hold the battery and the electronics and stuff, and I 3D printed those. And then I put on some little bumpers, again 3D printed, and put on some RGB LED strips for my front light and my tail light, and kind of went from there and put it all together.
It really looks like a fantastic build.
Well,
Oh
thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
I'm really proud of it. It was a lot of work and a lot of fun.
How long do you think it took you to build it?
Well, the design work took probably just as long or longer than the actual building.
And it takes 3 times longer when you film it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Filming always slows things down. I don't know. It took me, I would say, 3D printing the parts, if you get those, that takes a long time, but that's not like something you have to sit there and do, right? You just kick it off and you can go do something else, have it run overnight. I mean, they're big parts too. I used up every bit. I have an artillery sidewinder 3D printer. And it's got a build volume of 300 millimeters by 300 millimeters, and then a 400 millimeter Z-axis. So it's got
really
a really
big boy.
volume. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I used that 300 by 300. I was right up against the limits on that for the battery enclosure and stuff. So yeah, I ended up I was trying to spec out a battery. This was one of the things that kind of dictated the design a lot more than I had realized. Was finding a suitable battery, and I actually found it's an e-bike battery is what it was designed for, but it's a really big. How much was it? I think I can't remember the specs on it, but it was like close to like 1 kilowatt hour of capacity, which is a crazy amount. I mean, this is a big old battery. It's like the size of a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and about 3 inches thick.
That's
And
about
it
how
weighs-
big my battery is. Is about
Yeah, and it weighs probably
1,000 watt
20,
hours.
25 pounds. It's
I
really
bet
heavy.
it is.
So and I chose that because I wanted to have like a really long range. I could have gotten a smaller one, and the overall design would have been a lot smaller. But fitting that big old battery in there was what made the design a lot bigger than I had originally planned.
So that battery though, I mean, just thinking about how this works. I mean, you've got I guess just a little sketch up here. Let's see, sketch. I mean, basically you got a wheel in the middle, right?
Yep.
And you got a battery on one side. Does that make the the weight kind of unbalanced?
Very
Okay,
unbalanced in this
Okay.
case. Yeah, so like when it sits on the ground, it obviously tilts towards the side with the battery. But I mean, I weigh a lot more than the battery, so it's pretty easily overcome. I just have to lean a little bit forward. My body weight can more than compensate for that unbalance.
Okay, so I assume the battery's probably on the back, so you always start out on the back with your left or right foot, and then you press down. Exactly. I guess depending on if you ride goofy foot or a normal foot, is that? I guess that's how the skateboarders say it still.
And snowboarding, yeah, that's how I went with it, and I'm not sure if that was the best way, but it feels very comfortable to stand on the side, with the battery on it, and then I put my front foot on there and kind of lean forward, and that seems to work very well.
Okay, nice. So how far have you gone with this device?
So I was doing some range testing. But I was living in Arizona up until a few weeks ago, and it was really hot. And so actually some of the 3D, I used PLA for the 3D printed parts, which I knew weren't going to do very well, but it's what I had on hand. And some of the parts started melting, the parts that I was standing on.
Really?
I mean, it's really hot in Arizona. I mean, it's pretty brutal. So they started melting, and then I had a little bit of a crash on the asphalt, which sort of abruptly ended my testing phase. So and then I was getting ready to move up here to Utah, so I kind of had to put that on the back burner. But I've got it here, and I'm still getting settled in, but I hope to do some more range testing. But I think that battery is about 3 times the capacity of the commercial one wheel.
Really?
So
that's a good size.
It should put I think I did some back of the envelope calculations. I want to do some experimental ones, but I should be able to get close to 50 or 60 mile range on that.
That's a long insane. That's a long way. It's a
really long way.
I mean, I don't know. Everybody knows how long that is,
For most of us, it's farther than you want to go in one trip.
Yeah. I mean, that's more than you would go on one trip for sure.
But one of the things about these self-balancing anything, you don't want to run the battery too close to empty. Because that's what's keeping you need the more you discharge a battery, the less power it has available to keep you upright.
Yeah.
So your top speeds aren't the same anymore.
A lot of the same safety features built in. It'll start doing a tilt back, as you start getting lower, so it won't let you run the battery too low, and you can even have it shut off before it gets too low, and you can all set that. I wanted to talk about the motor controller that's in the one that I built. So there's a motor controller called the VESC, VESC, and that's a guy named, I think his name is Benjamin Vetter. So V for Vetter. And then,
I thought it was very electronic speed control. Isn't that what that stands for?
Yeah, very electronic. So it's so the ESC is electronic speed control, and then the guy who designed it, his last name was Vetter, so it's the VESC. And it was actually a really cool find in this project. I'd seen other people use them in various projects, but there's actually been a lot of development in the software for this particular ESC, and it's all clicking some buttons to get this balancing stuff to work. I had anticipated having to write Arduino code and use it, an accelerometer and all that kind of stuff and write the balancing app and all the PID control and all that kind of stuff. I had totally anticipated having to do all that work, and it comes to find out that I can just push a few buttons and have it work.
Really?
So that was really awesome, to find out that VESC has that capability.
So what runs it from a control standpoint? I mean, it's not just the VASC, is it? You've got some sort of Arduino or something on it, correct?
No, that VESC has a microcontroller on it. Yeah, it's got in fact, it's way more capable than a typical Arduino microcontroller.
So it's literally plug and play. You don't have to.
I mean, yeah, it's plug and play, and you can configure it in software. It's got a USB port on there, so you just plug it into your computer, and you open up the software. You go through the little menus, and there's a setup wizard to get all of the things set up, and you can kind of tune the PID control loop, and you can kind of fine tune all that. But also, you can also export a configuration file. So that's what I've done. I've kind of got it set up to how I like it, and I can just export this configuration file. And if somebody else wanted to build one, then all they'd have to do is just load up that configuration file.
I'm very jealous that you can configure the software on your wheel. The most I can really do is there's a soft, medium, and hard mode for how. And you can feel the difference when it's in soft. You can feel that the pedals dip a bit before you start moving, and it's way more comfortable to ride in soft. But
I think with the commercial one wheels, they have different riding profiles. You can be like a real aggressive profile or kind of a beginner profile, and so you can kind of configure those, and you'd be able to do the same thing with these config files.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So, well, that's awesome. So I know you put out some fairly involved instructions on how to build one. Has anybody else followed your designs and built one, as far as you know?
Yeah, so I did 3 videos on it, and the purpose of the videos was not to detail every single exact step on how to build one, because that would have gotten really tedious and very long. So it's just more of an overview, but I went into a lot of detail, and I wrote up a build guide if somebody wanted to build their own. So I put a lot of time and effort into kind of creating a build guide and documentation. I have a parts list, bill of materials. I have all the 3D printing files. And if somebody wanted to build that, they'd be able to do that.
So how long would it take somebody, you think, since with using your instructions, or do you not even know?
I have no idea. I mean,
Okay.
I would guess, maybe 3 weekends.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No, and maybe that's even an overestimation. Like I said, like the 3D printing parts is what takes a long time, and drilling a few holes in the aluminum rails and kind of assembling it all together, and that's about it.
And you sell those plans on your website, I guess, or is that?
Yeah, I have those. So all of the design files and stuff I actually released as open source. They're on GitHub.
Awesome.
And so if somebody wants to build it, they can totally follow along with those. But the build guide, it's a PDF with step-by-step instructions and pictures, and a lot of extra little things that I learned along the way are kind of tucked away in that build guide, and that's what I'm selling on my website.
Okay, and where can we find that? We want to
bitesizeengineering.com.
Okay, so and how much? I'm just curious, how much would one of these build guides be?
So the build guide costs $20.
Oh, $20 for
it's
so how many hours do you work? It's way worth it.
Oh yeah, I mean I put in a lot of work into that. So it's like 40 pages long of documentation and pictures and kind of hopefully things that will help people.
So there you go. That's
Zach, did you know somebody's selling a kit to build a one wheel like?
Is it the float?
Yes.
The float wheel?
Yes, but it seemed terrifying. The only way to pay for it is with Bitcoin or something.
I ran down that rabbit hole, and I was like, oh, well, all I have to do is just buy this kit. And then I'm looking on their YouTube videos, and it's like, we're currently being sued by One Wheel, but don't worry, guys. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, maybe.
This is not the route I want to go. So they were using partial things that they've designed, and then part like accessories that you can buy from One Wheel, and like that was their kit. Is like you have to buy bits and pieces from each of them.
Mostly, I was going to suggest that maybe you should be selling a few of the like maybe make the rails or something and sell them and let people do the long parts like the 3D printing themselves. I mean, I don't know which parts they tell you to make.
I thought about it and just seeing the writing on the wall with that company, I didn't really want to flirt with that too much. And so I figured that a build guide is, hey, here's a DIY, and I don't call it the One Wheel in my build guide. I call it the open wheel, because the design files are open source and it's kind of an open wheel. So I just called it the open wheel. I don't use their name at all, and it's just a build guide to build your own self-balancing skateboard. So I'm trying to stay away from any litigation.
It's half an e-bike.
Right.
Yeah, half an
e-bike. The half e-bike. So
quarter of a Tesla. Right?
You're doing a good job, Zach.
Yeah, you're doing it. I think that's right. So
thanks.
Well, is there anything else you're working on now, Zach? I assume. I mean, this is a mature project at this point. So is there anything? Like, what's your next project?
It is still a very prototype, and that's what I'm hoping if people will jump on and work on this, and they can help me, refine the design and figure out problems. I'm still having a couple of issues with the 3D printed parts that I have, and so it's very much experimental. It's not, not a finished product by any means.
Sure.
Zach, I have 1,500 miles on my 2 unicycles, and I tried to get on a one wheel pint, and my brain just can't figure it out.
You've already trained your brain to do the.
Yeah, I don't understand. And they were making fun of me because it's supposed to be easier to do. And I mean, I know I could figure if I spent 10 minutes playing with it, I'd be able to figure it out. But I could not get right on and do it. It was.
Yeah.
I kept wanting to lean. I guess I'm trying to lean what would be sideways on the one wheel, and it was a one wheel pint, and they have that round.
They're smaller,
wheel.
yeah.
It's a little different, but I felt a little dumb.
Well,
I'm okay with that though.
I'm sure you look really cool on the unicycle.
No,
so that makes up.
I absolutely know that I don't look cool.
Well, no, you're recognizable. I mean, people know who you are on the street.
It's true. I'm that guy.
You're that guy. So yeah, you should wear a. I mean, we don't have one. You should have like the Creativity Podcast shirt or something, and you could like advertise for us.
Do we have one?
We don't have one, so we got stickers though. I guess.
Jeremy.
You could put the sticker on your shirt.
But yeah, as far as other projects that I have going, I always have things going. I always, like many makers, struggle to find the time to do everything that I want to do. But yeah, one of the projects on the horizon is I would love to have a laser cutter, and I want one that has a bigger work area than like the Glowforge has, and I want more power. I think the Glowforge is like a 40-watt laser.
You should definitely talk to Jeremy about lasers.
Yeah. Actually, I got a red and black laser last year, and I actually did a video on it, so you can
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Do like checking that out. Yeah, it's supposedly it's 60 watts, but I think it's more like 50 watts.
Yeah,
and it's a 20 by 28 build area, I think. So that's
fairly large. Yeah,
extremely happy with it, but it did take it took a couple months to get it.
Is it the K40 style? The laser.
The K40 is the smaller one.
But this one's quite a bit bigger.
It's like a much bigger K4. It's got wheels. It's a whole.
Oh, okay.
And I only know this because at our makerspace we have the 80-watt version of Jeremy's 6. And the only difference is it's a bigger tube. They actually tacked on a piece of sheet metal to extend a little nubbin out the one side to fit a longer tube.
As long as you could fit your tube in, I guess it doesn't matter what size you're using. Although your power supply would have to be,
20 watts bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To fit it. But yeah, that's been a project that I've wanted to do for a long time. And in fact, there's a guy, his name is Rob Chesney or something. He's from New Zealand, and he did a full custom build laser a couple years ago, and he did something very similar where he built like a build guide, or he wrote a build guide, and I purchased that because I was like, I'm sure there's a lot of good information in here. So, but he did a whole series on his channel. It's called Further Fabrication is his YouTube channel. But he did a really, really great job documenting his build process, and it only, ignited the fire even further in me. I was like, I got to do the same thing. So, so I would love to build my own.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't build my own laser, but I did do quite a bit to customize it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I look forward to checking that out.
Yeah. Well, Pat, are you working on anything interesting these days? Maybe Uber lights.
Well, I do have the Uber lights boards here. These are. I don't want to talk too much about these because I talk about them all the time. But we've got this little PCB here. This is the size of a 5 1/4 inch drive bay. So these are RGB LEDs. We're adding a third set, and it's going to show things like CPU usage and network usage and things. But this has been on the back burner because my designer, he told me we're not doing this until KiCad 6 gets released. Is 6 the next one? And that's been taking a while. And then now there's shortages of all the electronic stuff, so I'm not too worried about being too fast. But I have a project working, Jeremy, but I can't show it to you because I'm sitting in this chair and all my lights are overready.
Okay. But, it's like a sensor for you.
I have a chair sensor in this recliner over here. It's an airbag sensor for the passenger seat of a car, wired into a Node MCU board, and it's plumbed into Home Assistant. So it won't turn the light off in here.
You're using water to power this? Is that?
It's It's electrons. It's plumbed with electrons through the air. It's so magical.
Through the air.
It is. It is truly magical.
But I'm really excited that's working, and you've inspired me to try something, Jeremy.
Okay, I hope that's a good thing.
Because of your macro pad.
Oh yeah.
When I printed one of these knobs, it was loose. And that got me thinking, why can't I tap the knob instead of hitting keys? Like tap the four corners of the knob? Well, I don't know that it has corners. So I picked up a bag of accelerometers, and I just got these arrived last night. I just got it working and then put it away. But I want to see if I can use an accelerometer to detect.
Oh, inside the knob. That's
Well, maybe not. I
maybe?
can't pick this up either because it's attached to my headphones. But I've got this little Bose Puck volume knob over here. But I'm thinking just a volume knob, no buttons, and you can tap, double tap on the just
well,
on
that sounds awesome, Pat.
I'm about 50% sure that it can be done, and then I'm about 10% sure that I can make it happen. So
60% of the time, it works all the time.
we hope so.
Yeah.
What do you got going on?
So yeah, I guess the macro pad's probably my biggest project these days, just because it's.
Can we buy the macro pad, Jeremy?
You can actually. I'm selling it on Tindy. I call it the JC Pro Macro because it uses a Pro Micro board. You sometimes call it Arduino Pro Micro board, and my name's Jeremy Cook, so JC Pro Macro. So that's been my big project, just trying to adapt it for different uses. Using I've got a kind of Final Cut Pro mode I'm working on, and even got something where you guys ever played this game called Slither.io? You guys know what I'm talking about? Basically, you control this snake like around the screen. So basically, I've got it. So if you press a button, it'll offset the mouse a certain amount, and then when you turn it, it turns your mouse cursor so the snake's following it. It's kind of silly, but kind of fun way to play. So
That's cool.
Yeah. 2 people on my Discord server are already excited and ordering your macro pad, Jeremy.
Well, I
think you might not be charging enough.
You think? Well,
is
you
what
know
I
what?
might be learning.
They are welcome to give me a donation, I suppose, if they.
That's really cool. You guys are both doing PCB related projects. I know we're low on time, but it would be fun to get together and talk more about that sometime.
I'd love to.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I want to know what software you guys use and how you feel about selling on Tindy and all that kind of stuff. It'd be fun.
Well, just a short answer. I use KiCad or KiCad, depending on how you say it. And
how am I supposed to say it, Jeremy?
I think you can say it either way. I think I go back and forth in my head. And
I've
then,
always said KiCad, but I don't know.
That's fine.
But I've heard it both ways.
And then selling on Tindy, I think is awesome. It's a great platform, and I'm perhaps a little biased because I write for their blog too, and they, pay me for that. So
yeah.
But I guess I'm not just a advertiser. I'm whatever the guy said in the Hair Club for Men. I'm not just. I'm not the president of Tindy, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm involved in all aspects of Tindy at this point. So
cool.
Does that make sense?
Very cool.
So.
Yeah. I've been happy selling on Tindy. I don't sell a lot, and I don't know how to design a PCB, Zach. A friend of mine is doing. We're trying to go into business together here. I guess.
You don't know how to design one yet.
Yet. This is true.
Well, I don't know. I guess this is a good place to end it, guys. I don't know. I don't want to. If you got anything else to tell the world, Zach, we want to give you the opportunity, of course.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on the podcast. I had a lot of fun and chatting with you guys about this.
Yeah, this was awesome. And Jeremy, we missed an important thing here.
What's that?
Zach, where can we find you on the internet if people have never heard of you before and our huge audience would want to find you? Where?
I am mostly on YouTube. My channel is called Bite Sized, BYTESIZED. So that's probably the best place to find me. And then I've got a website, bitesizeengineering.com. And then I am on Instagram, but I'm not very active on Instagram, I'll be honest. So
where can we find you, Pat, if we wanted to find you?
Well, I pretend to have a YouTube channel, but I never post anything. But you can find me on my blog at patshead.com. And
nice.
I haven't been writing there enough lately either, so I'm doing a bad job. But there's like 300,000 words up there now at this point, so there's got to be something useful there. I hope.
That's a couple books, right? So
sure.
I guess I don't know.
It's at least 3 novellas.
And you can find me at jeremyscook.com, or if you look up Jeremy S. Cook on Twitter or YouTube, you should get to me. And if you don't, it'll be somebody else called Jeremy S. Cook, and
he might be good people too.
He might be all right. I don't know.
So like and subscribe that guy also.
Yeah. But yeah, well, Zach, thanks so much for coming on. Pat, always a pleasure to talk to you. And
always good to talk to you, Jeremy. And it was fun to meet you, Zach. This was awesome.
Likewise.
All right. See you guys later.